Dear children, now we'll start a new chapter from chemistry. Okay, that is chapter number 3, right? And we have matter in chapter number 3. Okay, matter in chapter number 3. All right. So many times we have discussed about matter. All right. So matter is something which has mass and occupies space or the volume. Okay, is a matter. Okay, matter is something which occupies space and has volume. Alright, so when you see around, when you look around, you find so many things there. Okay, some are living things, some are non-living things. Right, and those which you see around, whether it is living or non-living, they are all made up of materials. Okay, they contain something in them, and they all occupy space and they all have mass. So they are all matters. Okay, and but still there are some things which we talk about, okay, which we know are not matters. It's not that everything that we talk about, is matter, but there are some things, there are many things which do not occupy space and which do not have the mass, which means they are not matters. Perhaps you must have guessed also which are the things that I am talking about and are not matter. You must be knowing, like sound. Okay, sound, you are hearing me. Okay, the sound that I am producing doesn't occupy the space, doesn't have mass. Alright, in the same way, electricity. Alright, then your TV signal. Alright, so many things there, like affection, okay, love that we talk about, so that we know. But all those things are not matter because they do not occupy space and do not have mass. So from this discussion, what we understand is matter is something which has mass and occupy space. Right, that is mass. That is matter. So this matter that we are going to talk about. Alright, so matter is something that has mass and occupies space. Okay, that is matter. Matter is something that has mass and occupies space. So here, what is mass then? What is mass? So mass is the matter contained in an object. Let us see, this is a chalk. So chalk is a matter. Why? Because it has mass and occupies space. What is mass in it? Mass means the matter contained in it. The materials contained in it, okay, is mass. So matter is something that has mass and occupies space. There are still some things, okay, which are not matter. As I told you, those which do not occupy space and do not have mass, like TV signal, right? Then your affection, sound, electricity, etc. So these are not matter. Right? Now let us talk about characteristics of matter. Characteristics of matter. Characteristics. Alright? So characteristics, number one, we have matter occupies space. Matter occupies space. Alright, matter occupies space. As I've told you, anything that occupies space is matter. Let us say this is a book. So book is a matter because it occupies the space there. Okay, the amount of space occupied by an object is called its volume. Okay, length, breadth, and volume. I mean length, breadth, and height. The total of this. Okay, length, breadth, and height. When you multiply, the product is your volume. So the length, breadth, and height is its volume. That means this occupies the space. Anything, okay, anything that has length, breadth, and height, so is matter, and that length, the product of length, breadth, and height is the vertical volume of that object. That means matter occupies space. Alright, for example, I'll just show you as given there in the book also. I'll show you here. Say, so there is as given there in the book also one experiment or one activity that you can also do at your home. Okay, take a glass filled with water. As see here, this glass is there filled with water. Alright, and water is already matter, that we know, and the cup which I am holding is also matter. See, here I have got my what you call your stone, small stone is there tied to a thread. Okay, so when I dip this here, when I dip this stone into this container filled with water, then what you find is that you see the water being completely filled and little bit of water is even spilled. Okay, why? Because this stone being a matter has occupied this space here. Alright, so this proves that this stone is a matter. Why? Because it has occupied the space in this glass containing water. You can also do this activity at your home. Alright, so number 2 characteristic of matter is matter has mass. Okay, as discussed, matter has mass. Okay, that is, matter is made up of some materials then. Okay, and there are many things which we can't see. Okay, which we can't see but we can feel. Okay, are also matters like air. Okay, even air, even your air is your matter. Okay, so to prove that whether air is a matter or not, you can carry out an activity at your home also. Okay, which is also given there in the book. This activity. Okay, this activity you can see, which proves that even air is a matter because air has mass. Alright, for that what you can do is that you collect some of the materials, like you have, or you need to collect beam balance, S1 outer beam balance. Okay, we call it the pola. Okay, traditional type. So beam balance you can have. Then you can also have the deflated bulb. Okay, bulb which is free of air inside. Okay, deflated bulb. Right. Then what you can do is that you need to have your plastic bag. Okay, plastic bag is to be hung here. Then some sand. So these are the materials you need to collect for this activity. Then what you do? Okay, you just fill or pump air in this ball. This bulb which was deflated. You pump air in it and you make it inflated now. Okay, deflated. Opposite of deflated is inflated because you have pumped air in it. Alright. Then what you do? You suspend it on one end of this beam balance. Okay, you just suspend it to the one end of this to one end of this beam balance. Then to the other end of this beam balance, you suspend a plastic bag containing a little bit of sand as from outer. Okay, here you see you see a plastic bag being suspended with little amount of sand in it. Then when you suspend it here, both sides here, the ball, inflated ball filled with air, the other side, the plastic bag containing little bit of sand. When you suspend both of these here, what you see is that here you find the inflated ball going downward. Okay, going downward. See here, because this ball is heavier than the plastic bag containing little bit of sand. Alright, you can see out here. You can make out. Okay, I will not draw out here on the board because it takes time. Because I am very much sure that you are very much present out there with the book open, especially page number 55. Alright, so that you just have a look at the book yourself there. See, your ball is downward, that has gone down, whereas the other end has been lifted, which means the ball is heavier in this case. Then what you do? You add some more sand into this bag. You put some more sand into this and try to balance it. Put some more. You keep adding the sand into this bag till it comes to its balance. Alright? Till it comes to its level. Then what happens after some time, when you add when you add some more sand in it, then at the end you find both the ends coming in the level. They are balanced now. So from this activity, what you understand is that air has mass. Air has mass because you see, when there was no sand, here the ball was heavier than this. But when you added some more sand in it, then only it came in the level. These two ends are balanced, which means even the air, which you can't see, has mass, which means it also occupies space and has mass, so it is a matter. Okay, so here even air is a matter. Why? Because it contains, mass, or it has mass and also occupies space. Alright. Okay, now we'll see nature of matter. Nature of matter. Alright? Nature of matter. Nature of matter. Matter is composed of tiny particles. Right, so now matter is composed of tiny particles. Okay, whatever the matters you see, they are all made up of very fine particles, very tiny particles, and these tiny particles are atoms, ions, and molecules. They are atoms, okay, ions, and molecules. Alright? Atoms, ions, and molecules, which we have discussed before also in the other chapters. So atoms, ions, and molecules are the tiny particles that compose any matter. Whatever the matters that we talk about are all made up of such tiny particles. They are atoms, ions, and molecules. So atoms are the smallest particle, okay, smallest particle which cannot exist independently. Okay, which can or cannot exist independently. Though they cannot exist independently, but they can have every property of that matter. Okay, so I have given you the example of this when we are talking about element, compound, something like that. So even this silver is also a matter, right? Because it's also made up of tiny particles like atoms or molecules. Alright, so the smallest particle, the smallest unit which which in fact combine together and form the molecules and finally give the size to that matter, alright, has every property of that matter. Okay, just take one atom of this and see whether it has the property of this matter or not. It contains all the properties of that matter. Okay, though it can or cannot exist alone or independently, but it possesses every property of that matter. Alright, and these atoms combine together, one atom combined with other, and then make a group of atoms. Maybe the atoms of the same type or different types, make a group of atoms, and this group of atoms, is your molecule. That is a group of atoms. Many atoms of the same type or different types, when combined together, that cluster of these atoms is your molecule, and this molecule can independently exist in the nature. Okay, it can independently exist in the nature. Okay, I'll give you one more example here. Suppose H is atom of hydrogen. Alright, when I write H2, so it is the molecule of hydrogen. Here only one atom of hydrogen, here two atoms of hydrogen, making one molecule of hydrogen. Okay, here is a group of atoms, but it is only one atom. Okay, so both of these can have the every character of the hydrogen. Whatever the properties that hydrogen has, it can also have. Even these can have the properties of hydrogen. So these small particles, these smallest particles actually make a matter. Okay, and as I've told you, see here this hydrogen, and in the same way you see here water. So here this is also a molecule. This is a molecule of water where you find two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. So combination of these different kinds of atoms together, is a molecule of water. So this way, the matter is formed. Okay, so your nature of matter. So matter is composed of tiny particles, and these tiny particles are the atoms, ions, and molecules. Okay, so ions means out here the charged particle, like charged particle, as you see here when I write this one. Okay, so this is your, when I write this one, see, when I write this one, this is your ion, charged particle, which has the charge out here. Okay, so this is your what do you call it, your ion. So these smallest particles compose the matter. Alright, whatever the matter it is, they are all formed of these tiny particles. Okay, now we'll see particles of matter are constantly moving. Okay, so though we cannot see that, suppose chalk is there, matter which is formed of many particles there, but the particles in the chalk cannot be seen whether they are moving or not. Okay, so their movement cannot be seen, but actually they are always in motion, they are moving. So which was first proved by Robert Brown in 1827. Okay, so how he discovered this, let's see here now. So he collected some pollen grains. Pollen grains means that powdery substance you find in the flower. Okay, that you find in the flower, which is actually required for the reproduction in the plants. Okay, in the flowering plants, such fine particles, actually such fine powdery substance he collected. Substance is collected and suspended there in water. You see here, as there in the book also, suspended in water and observed under microscope. He observed the pollen grains which are there in the water under microscope. Alright, then what he found? He found the pollen grains, rapidly moving there. Okay, the pollen grains which are there in the water were constantly or rapidly moving. So how they were moving was, they were constantly, the particles of water, because water is a matter formed of particles, such particles of water were constantly hitting the pollen grains there, so that the pollen grains were moving. Okay, so such zigzag movement, and they move in zigzag motion. Okay, they show the zigzag motion there. So such zigzag movement of the particles of matter, is known as Brownian motion. Is known as Brownian motion. Brownian motion, named after the scientist Robert Brown, because that motion was observed by Robert Brown in 1827. He was the discoverer of this idea, of this thought, of this fact. So in the honor of this scientist, the name of the motion also was given as Brownian motion. So from this, what we understand is that particles of matter, any matter which you see not moving, which is in fact at a static position, which is not moving, but the particles of which that matter is formed, actually are moving. They are always in the constant motion, they are always in the zigzag constant motion, and that motion exhibited by all the particles of the matter is called Brownian motion. Okay, so today we'll do only this much. I hope that you people have understood, and I still believe that you are constantly in touch with the book. And today also what I feel is that you people please go through the portions of this chapter almost just now covered, so that you understand a lot. Okay, so thank you very much.